Jerry Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have conservative group launches an ad campaign against Cleveland Clinic's DEI initiatives from Cleveland.com, posted by Ninja Lover, and they added, "This is wild. The bigotry of these conservative groups is endless." And yeah, I personally don't really care for DEI, and I think if conservative groups want to have ad campaigns against DEI, they should be able to. You know, it's interesting how any dissent at all against DEI is considered bigotry. It's the progressive position is almost to consider merit itself fascism at this point. They can, like how they consider any form of self-reliance at all to be fascism at this point, I would say. And yeah, this is why I personally don't really care for Reddit anymore. It's full of people who have severe bouts of, who are having severe cases of r/politics brain rot, like Ninja Lover here. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have J.D. Vance stuns Munich conference with blistering attack on Europe's leaders from TheGuardian.com by Ninja Lover, and they added, signaled U.S. support to the neo-Nazi and fascist movements that are brewing in Europe. Russian state TV applauded the speech. This is Putin's America. And yeah, this is another example of their severe bout with r/politics brain rot. I don't really care for J.D. Vance too much, but he's telling Europe's leaders, Europe's increasingly clamping down on freedom of speech, and where are they gonna? What's the response to that? Oh, this is Putin's America. This is just DNC propaganda gobbledygook. I don't even care for the Republican Party, but this is just they don't really. It's just Orange Man bad. Anyone associated with Orange Man bad. And Russia bad, that's all pretty much what it is at this point. And Tesla Man bad, but that would fall under associated with Orange Man bad. So, it's just the same headlines over and over again, and they just jerk themselves off to it, and nothing changes. At some point, you just get tired of it all, and you hope something new comes, but it never does. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we had, did Governor Abbott just admit that school vouchers will defund public schools from Cron.com by Donald Key? And yeah, I personally think that's a good idea. I don't think we should have public schools in the first place. I think we need to get the government out of education and everything else as well. But yeah, I don't think he's doing it from a principled libertarian position. He's probably doing it because his donor class is telling him to. But yeah, sometimes you can't. You might believe that you might do the right thing for the wrong reasons, but it's still the right thing. So that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, just posted on Army's official social media, trans folks no longer allowed to join, from CH4Locks, and that's crosswords from the military subreddit, and that's a tweet from U.S. Army. The U.S. Army will no longer allow transgender individuals to join the military and will stop forming or facilitating procedures associated with gender transition for service members. Stay tuned for more details. And yeah, I personally would agree with that policy. I personally can't join the military because I'm on an SSRI, and I know most transgender people are on an SSRI as well. So the vast majority of transgender people already aren't allowed to join the military. And yeah, I personally think, if maybe some of the more muted transgender people who don't make it their whole personality, I personally think they would be fine to join. But I personally think that the most transgender people who are in the military, might be more of a distraction and a hindrance than helping, because they always tend to make everything about themselves and constantly woke scold people if they dissent from their official worldview at all. So I personally, if the U.S. government does want to kick out transgender individuals from military, I think that's fine. Personally, I think the U.S. military probably needs any troops it can get at this point, and that might include some transgender people. But as I said earlier, personally, I think they might just be more of a distraction and a hindrance rather than a help, especially if they're like the Reddit type of transgender people who are just constantly woke scolding you and bullying you for any perceived infraction that you do. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, bill to end child marriage in South Dakota clears first hurdle from KiloLand.com by Donald Key. And yeah, this is another thing that, child marriage, yada yada yada, Republican child marriage, and Yeah, personally, I can see a libertarian argument for child marriage. The state shouldn't be regulating who can and can't get married. But with that being said, I personally don't think kids can consent to marriage. But I don't think the state should be involved in marriage at all. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have a Dems Daily Press Conference. Great idea from Donald Key, and that's crossovers from the 5051 subreddit. And it's a tweet from Sherry Jacobus. I think having Pete Buttigieg doing a daily Dem press conference briefing on Capitol Hill is an outstanding idea. Make him the Democratic press secretary and give him a staff. I promise you the media will cover him, especially the ones Trump just kicked out of the White House. A daily opposition press briefing will have all of the legit media in attendance, what's left of it, and the world will watch. Failure to do this is surrender, and the world will see that as well. And yeah, that's just that would just be more Democrat propaganda. I personally don't see the need for it. You already have Reddit at this point for Democrat propaganda, as you see with all these posts in the subreddits. Pretty much all just Democratic propaganda at this point. And yeah, so I personally wouldn't see the need for it. But if they want to do that, they should have the free will to do so. And yeah, if their agency wants them to have them do that, they should be able to do it. But I personally wouldn't care for it. Then we have Just Dictator Things from Legio X, and that's a tweet from Jonathan Lemire, President Trump's latest posting, and that's his new post on Twitter. And he also posted it on True Social, but he also posted on Twitter as well. And it says, "He who saves his country does not violate any law." And yeah, I personally don't really care for that. Trump always says stupid things like that kind of makes him look bad. Personally, I think it's kind of him trying. He might be a DNC asset trying to make himself purposely look bad to drive people away from the Republican Party. But if that being said, I don't think anything will come of it. He always says stupid things like that. And yeah, personally, if he wants to consider himself this great savior and like a modern Julius Caesar, he should be able to do so. But that being said, the law is inherently authoritarian. But he's inherently authoritarian as well, so I don't think it really matters. So he says whatever bullshit he wants. He riles people up. That's kind of his whole shtick at this point. It's been his shtick for over a decade. Since he first started announcing he was running for the president like a decade ago. And if people haven't caught on at this point, they're never going to catch on. Then we have Libra meme coin crashes 90%. Millet deleted endorsement from DLNews.com by Narco Federation, and they said Millet deletes promotional post out for crashing 90%. Insiders cashed out $87 million from Libra after just a few hours after post launch. And yeah, that's why I personally would never endorse any meme coins or any of that, because they mostly seem to be Ponzi schemes or pump and dump schemes or rug pulls and all that. But, if Millet wants to endorse it and then rescind his endorsement after it's proven to be one, that's on him. Personally, I don't really care for a lot of meme coins and a lot of crypto in general. I personally don't really care. I think crypto, it's a good way to get money away from the control of the government. But that being said, I personally think, I've always been more interested in social capital than economic capital. So that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump officials destroying U.S. aid secretly met with Christian nationalists abroad in defiance of U.S. policy. These are the people now at the table in the current administration for ProPublica.org and by Baton 13. And yeah, this is pretty much, Mad Libs at this point. It's Trump. You throw Trump in there, you throw USA in there, you throw whatever. It's Trump, then whatever the current hot topic is, then whatever the members of the outgroup are in this great Christian nationalists. So yeah, it's pretty much Mad Libs. Coincidentally, the people doing it are also Mad Libs. And only instead of only the libs in that case would be liberal. So yeah, it's just more DNC propaganda gobbledygook. Orange Man bad, U.S. aid good because Orange Man against it. Christian nationalist outgroup bad. Then we have RFK Jr. says he'll send people taking Adderall to labor camps from Yahoo.com by CH4Locks. And yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. But RFK Jr. just says stupid stuff sometime in the media, just runs with it just like Donald Trump. Personally, I don't like a lot of what RFK Jr. is doing. I don't think we should be banning ads from Big Pharma. You got the argument that, well, that's the moral thing to do. But ultimately it comes down to what the private enterprise wants. If the private enterprise wants to have Fred Flintstone say Winston tastes good like a cigarette should, that's on them. I don't think the government should be banning ads for cigarettes and smoking products either, even though they did that back in the 70s. So, ultimately, I think it's free enterprise. I think a lot of RFK Jr. still goes against that. But, yeah, I personally don't think anything will come of it. Because, the U.S. government may be powerful, but big pharma is usually even more powerful. So that's my thoughts there. Then we have Americans on food stamps will be banned from buying bad food and sugary drinks, Trump USDA chief says from NYPost.com, posted by Donald Key. And, yeah, I personally don't really care for, I don't think the government should be paying for food at all. But, ultimately the libertarian position is if I think if the people want government food stamps, they should be able to say what people are control people or what people are buying of them. I think that's the direct problem is that we have government food stamps at all rather than the government just directly giving food to people at all. Because, I think food stamps, they give people a choice. I don't think if you're on food stamps you should have a choice because ultimately the government can control what has already too much control over food in that instance. So I personally would think this is good, but ultimately, the government should be able to. We need to get the government. We need to get food stamps. We need to get people off food stamps and have them either earning money to to get their own food, or have private charities do food giving instead of the government. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have bill to ban mRNA vaccines passes out of House Committee from CH for Locks from dailyinterlake.com. And yeah, personally, I don't think this is happening. It's just the Montana House, not the National House. So, yeah, I personally think if I wouldn't want to take any mRNA vaccines. I did take the COVID vaccine, but I personally don't really care for any of the mRNA vaccines. But, if you want to take them, I think it should be up to individual decision rather than the government banning them. They might be deadly, but even if they are deadly, it still should be individual choice to take them rather than the government telling you what you can and can't do when it comes to vaccines and other medical issues. Then we have top Russian and American officials will hold talks on ending the Ukraine war without Kiev from CH for Locks from APnews.com, and that's crosswords from the NMT subreddit, which is the Word News subreddit with less censorship pretty much, but they call it MATs because I guess I don't know. But yeah, I think I personally think Ukraine should be at the table as well, but at this point, Ukraine is pretty much just a U.S. puppet state, so I definitely think Russia and America should be the ones who are ultimately making the deal, since Ukraine isn't really an independent state at this point. It's more just the U.S. puppet state, just kind of like Belarus is for Russia, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have the Venn diagram of Trump's authoritarian actions from CodeK.org by Tom 13, and yeah, it's more Orange Man bad. Then we have Oklahoma lawmaker, I don't want pink-haired atheists teaching the Bible in schools, from CH for Locks from FriendlyAtheist.com. And yeah, I personally don't think they should be teaching the Bible in schools at all. But, ultimately, the problem is we have public schools in the first place that have state-mandated curriculums. I think we should just get rid of all public schools and have schools teach whatever they want to. And if they want to hire pink-haired Reddit woke atheists to say Bible bad, they should have the private schools should be able to be progressive if they want to. But yeah, I personally don't really care for any schools at all. I think they're all just designed to push an agenda and are inherently an authoritarian concept. I think the libertarian position is for people to learn themselves rather than be taught in any school. Then we have Dan's new comments about Trump from Ninja Lover. That's crosswords from the Dan Carlin subreddit. And that's some long tweet he did about Orange Man bad, I guess. I personally don't care for Trump. But, at this point, after 3,500 plus days of Orange Man bad, he eventually just grow numb to it. So, yeah, I'm not going to read all that. But, yeah, if you want to think Orange Man bad, you should be able to think Orange Man bad. And, yeah, personally, I don't really care for him. But, at some point, the endless circle jerk just keeps getting old, especially from these people with r/politics brain rot like Ninja Lover. So we're gonna wrap it up there, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.